I am now going to tell you about the chain of evacuation, a very important aspect of World War I medicine, the historic environment. Now, I'm going to be able to part here of a wounded soldier who have been seriously wounded here in the trenches. Now, I need some medical attention, stat. First place I'm going to go, I'm going to be carried by a stretcher bearer probably to this right here. Now this is the RAP, the Regimental Aid Post. These are usually in shell holes, very small dugouts, only a few metres back from the front line. You'd have one medical officer and some stretcher bearers giving some very basic first aid. But obviously, I'm seriously wounded. I need to go a bit further back. So I'd probably be transported to this next point here. This would be the advanced dressing station, which would be about 350 metres behind the front line. Sometimes there might be a main dressing station about a mile back, but they're both the same sort of thing. Dressing stations, usually in some tents, or again, a dugout or something like that. You would generally have a medical officer there, a few more medical orderlies, and from 1916, there were indeed some nurses helping out. But again, conditions not great, fairly basic, and the risk of being shelled or bombed, because you're still fairly close to the front line. They can't do that much for you here. And obviously I'm bleeding out here. I need to get some more help. So, take me even further back, about a mile behind the front line, so much safer here from shelling. In some wooden huts or some decent buildings, we have the CCS. Now these are much more permanent. The majority of medical treatments, the good stuff in World War I, happens at this CCS, the Casualty Clearing Station. You would have operations, some basic surgery could be done there, nursing staff. You'd also have the mobile x-rays would come and help out these areas as well. They'd also, most importantly, would triage you. That's the French word for sorting. They'd sort you into the walking wounded, who obviously could walk further on, the ones they could actually help or operate on, and those who just needed to be left to die and given a bit of comfort. And that's how they would deal with you there. But I think I'm feeling a bit better, and they give me a little bit of treatment. They're going to send me now to a base hospital. Now these would be really permanent. Now base hospitals, they could probably fit in about 400 patients. They'd have beds, they'd have obviously a full staff operating medical procedures, they'd have surgical areas, and they'd have x-rays and all that sort of stuff. So obviously very permanent. They'd usually be near transport links like a train, or they'd be near the ports to get you back safe home to England. Okay, so that's the final part of our chain of evacuation, but I want to tell you about one more thing. So let's go back to the front line. Now, I said most base hospitals were a long way away from the front line. Well, that's true, except for one exception. Now, in 1916, the British decide to launch a massive attack at a place called Arras, and they notice, there's loads of tunnels already built a long time ago by the Romans, I think it was, in the area of Arras. So they start to make these tunnels bigger. They use the chalky ground they can dig in, and they make an underground hospital at Arras ready for the big attack that happens in 1917. There is space for 700 patients there. And because it's so close to the front line, these 700 beds, the space for 700 patients, that's great for them. They can get immediate emergency treatment. There's also a surgical theatre. They've got running water, running electricity underground here. It's an absolutely fantastic place. I think they've even got space for stretcher bearers to rest. So the one exception is the underground hospital at Arras, which obviously is underground, safe from shelling, but close enough to the front line to get some treatment for the soldiers. But unfortunately, I haven't been treated fast enough, and so it's the end for this soldier.